All right, what's going on, everybody? This is Dante on another episode of Why Date. Happy Why Date Wednesday, and we are here live with Ann Shirley.
Hey.
And I brought back an old friend of mine who's been on the first season with me. We don't do nicknames anymore. We just say your name now. We learned that nicknames aren't everyone knows who we are. So I'm gonna start it off and just welcome Hui. And he went by as in the first season Heartbreak Asian, but he's on here. So Hui is here, and his what? What are you laughing? Don't laugh. But so there we are. And we have his lovely girlfriend with him, Kim. Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Because I'm only looking at Aunt Shirley. But so we got a couple of live streams here. I'm on live stream right now on a couple of our things right now. YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, all that stuff. So if you guys are following on there, this is social distancing to its finest. We have you guys are in different cities, but we managed to still do a Zoom call. I appreciate you guys being on. So this topic is more of interracial dating. So it's like a whole topic of that. So I know it got pretty heavy, pretty heated in the last episode. I'm not sure if Angela wants to add to it or not, but it got pretty intense.
I think at the end of it, everyone could fairly say that there's just a lot to think about when we are dating, and we should just be more conscious about like our choices to make sure we're not like dating based off of fetishes and stuff.
Yeah, a lot of people do that, man. Actually, I was just talking to someone in my car. They were like, "Yeah, man, like I have an Asian fetish." I'm like, "What? Oh shit!" I was like, "Oh, uh-oh." But no, it was just it was interesting. It's interesting. So okay, so we actually have a couple who are also interracial dating.
Yeah.
Explain to you what your ethnicity is, Hui.
First or second gen Vietnamese American.
And Kim?
I identify as a third generation Filipino American. And I also feel like there's levels to it. Because I feel like in a way, yes, technically we are interracial dating, but in a way it also, at least for me, we'll get into it, but he's the first Asian guy that I've dated. So for me, at the same time, there's a level of interracial, but then in a way there's also not as Asian Americans.
Okay.
Okay. So yeah, we'll dive into the different levels of Asian. I mean, yeah, I see what you mean. I get that, but it's your first Asian boyfriend.
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, all right. So it's still kind of new, you know, and it's not especially Hui too. I knew this guy for a year or so. Yeah, he's a little different. He's tatted up, right? He's a tough guy.
So I have a question.
Yes.
Like I want to get into how is it dating someone, or is there a difference if you're dating someone at different generation levels? Because I know, for example, I'm a first generation American, and there's a lot of like exploration and trying to find your identity, like who you are as an American and who you are like within your culture, that I think as the generations go on, it's not that like you're not so restricted by culture. I don't know if you guys can like speak on that experience.
Yeah, I'll go first. So let me see. How do I say this without offending anyone? Okay, so to give context about like my history, and also a little bit about history with Dante's podcast. I was one of those people who, supported the podcast in the beginning. And our original thought process, when we were like talking and discussing about dating was like, why this, why that? And, man, the challenges of understanding women, right? And I told him a long time ago in the podcast that my biggest challenge as a first gen Vietnamese American was because my parents came from Vietnam, they were just getting accustomed to American culture moved here, right?
Right.
So then when they were while they're getting accustomed to that, my older sister / cousin, she pretty much grew up with me. She escaped the war at the time with them. She was already finding her identity, when as she was growing up here, being in the East Coast and also being in the West Coast. I was born in the West Coast. So when I was growing up, so imagine like someone who's just growing up and not really understanding, Vietnamese or English, or getting confused with the both languages. You didn't know what was right, what was wrong, what was in, what is pop culture. So a lot of my identity, like it was a lot of self exploration, according to who I was surrounding myself with, friends. And at that time, I had another nickname, and it was Heavy Metal Hui, and I was around a lot of like white kids, a lot of like Latino kids who thought they were like heavy metal heads. You know what I mean? So I was like, oh yeah, I like this. I like playing music and metal and rock and whatever. So I was trying my best to fit in with that genre. You know what I mean? And at the time, this was like maybe like mid 2000s. So it was probably on the brink of people just starting to be aware of, their identity crisis, right? There's more people now so openly willing to admit their gender, they're a trans person. They're like, no, I identify as this, and that was great. I think at that time when I was in the mid 2000s, it was kind of like on the brink. So people were like questioning it. Oh, am I this? Am I really that? Right? I think that's how I kind of felt too. I felt like, when I told people that I'm Vietnamese, it was just a thing to do. It was just oh yeah, I'm Vietnamese. I was just born this way. I'm Vietnamese. Oh well, how is your family? I don't know. You know what I mean? So
how does that impact dating?
I think it impacts dating because of like a lot of social cues with like different women when I was talking to or dating, I wouldn't be able to pick them up, right? So that doesn't mean that I like strayed away from meeting other people or or going through these dates. It was just a little more difficult, right? I didn't understand like why it was so important to I don't know, like courtship, right? Like I didn't understand that the steps were super important. Like I didn't understand that like I didn't know why Justin Timberlake was a big deal. You know what I mean? Like certain things like that, right? And that I'm being dead serious. In high school to college, people were like, "Oh my God, the lyrics," and they would sing the song, and I'm like, I don't care. What is this, right? But it was very important to them at the time. So there was a certain gap between what was popular in pop culture, and I felt like I was always steps behind. So as that person being raised from these immigrant parents, I never found the importance. They never showed the importance of being caught up with pop culture. So I had to figure out myself. And there's already that time lag between doing that versus everyone's already, ahead of that. Right. Yeah. Right. I'm a DJ, but there's songs I still don't know. And she's like, you don't know that song? You know that song? Right. I'm like, no, I don't.
What song?
What was it?
I don't know, whatever. But I mean,
that makes a lot of sense. You're trying to figure out who you are, how to approach women, and then you're also like trying to figure out what you like for yourself that isn't compounded by like, your culture's this, you have to like do X, Y, and Z. No, like you had to figure out what was good for you. Yeah. And I think everyone has that kind of exploration, but I think it's even more it's more of an intense experience because, like you said, you were growing up around like white kids who already had the context, right? So they already knew like what to do and what not to do. Yeah. And that was probably like I don't know, like it's a learning curve, right? And trying to like form yourself as like a young man and then have all these extra burdens. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
Answer. It was like really well thought out.
For me, the thing I see in our generational differences is the way I identify as he is, to me, he's my parents' generation.
Mm.
But a lot of the patterns that I see in terms of communication with like parents, for like how he communicates with his parents or lack of, to me, is a like almost a first to second generation. Like for especially in Vietnamese and Asian culture, there's a lot more of the like they show love in what they do for him, like acts of service.
Right.
Versus, and then I see that in how he is a partner to me. He's a lot more of a doer. He like will build everything for me. He'll cook. He'll do a lot of those things. For me, as a generation, I was able to develop a lot of emotional intelligence and like verbal saying I love you to my parents, as they were more like inclined to do that with their kids, to talk more about their feelings and process that more as a couple with us and show that to me and my brothers. So it's more like they say, I love you and I miss you. And I'll be like, it's weird if I don't talk to them and check in with them often. So then I'm more of the verbal one and the one like, well, talk about it with me, or what are you thinking with him? So there's those kind of differences too.
Yeah. My dad, my parents and I, we don't, like, we'll just say, hey, all right, cool, bye. You know, like it's no, I mean, we'll say we love you or I love you or miss you, but it's not as consistent like what she does with her parents. My dad will randomly call me, hey, are you doing good? I'm like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, and then I'll be like, that's it.
I'm like, you need anything?
Home for like an hour.
And then no, okay, all right, bye. Like it's that's it, you know? But the love is there, right? The energy is there, and she can feel it, but the context of it or the what's the word? The method of it is not the same. You know what I mean?
Right, exactly. Wow, that's interesting how like your love languages are like kind of different based off of how you received love from your culture. Wow, thank you for sharing that. Do you want to jump in, Dante, or?
Oh, I'm learning. I'm just here. I mean, I know you had a lot of questions. I know she has like a few questions she put on our groups. So I'm just gonna let her go in. Leadership.
So I think you guys totally answered the first question that I had, which was how did cultural differences influence your guys' relationship? Especially, you guys mentioned how you guys have different ways of understanding each other's love languages. Like if yours is more words of affirmation, and yours is more active service, it comes from our parents who kind of showed us how we do love, right? I have another question. Before you guys entered this relationship, were you guys ever like seeking out a specific ethnicity, or did you just happen to kind of fall in love with who you fell in love with? And how did you guys, in your current relationship, how do you guys navigate people's opinions? Because I know in Ghanaian culture, if you marry or date outside of your race, there's a lot of like opinion, and oftentimes like parents are often trying to get you to like date like within the culture. So like how do you guys navigate outsiders' opinions? Do your parents like super approve of this union because you're dating within the culture? Yeah, what do you guys think?
I think I appreciate too that we started off with the foundation of generational differences too, because I think my parents being second generation, they were a little more open and flexible and like understanding. My dad, even I always will remember when I was in high school, he would say, he made this joke to me and my brothers. So I'm the youngest of three with my brothers. He would make a joke of, I don't think any of my kids are going to marry Filipino.
Oh.
Yeah, I think he already had seen when we grew up. We grew up in a more mixed neighborhood. It was probably a little, there was a good majority of white, but I grew up around a lot of Latino and a lot of Black African American. I actually didn't grow up with any Filipino friends.
Oh, wild.
I grew up with a few close Asian American friends of other kinds, but I was pretty much predominantly around Latinos and Blacks, and that's kind of like what got me into. I think that's what kind of was a reflection of the majority of guys I dated before.
Stockton. Sorry.
Yeah.
1-9 in the house, represent.
Going on. We are kids.
1-9.
We have the belly. Sorry.
I was never, so I don't think, and I was talking on the chat for y'all's last one about how I don't think it was ever purposeful that I didn't date Asian American, because it was just kind of like Lisa, like it just was who I was surrounded by.
Right, exactly.
Then as I got older, I happened to be that I started dating majority of African American Black men in like my 20s.
Oh, cool.
Which I don't think I necessarily went and sought after that. And I was saying how and I think I even posted that I felt like a lot of times society would impose like, oh, Kim has jungle fever. Kim only dates Black men. But I didn't necessarily think that. I do think that in the trend of my life, I was really aligned with my career. I was really into hip hop education. I think that just the values of it and coming from Black culture, I seem to align a lot with that. But I was always open. But I did have to have a conversation with myself in like mid to late 20s about why is it though that I'm still having a trend of dating Latinos and Blacks, and I have dated a couple of whites when I was in my younger years. Why is it that I'm not honing in on Asian American men? And I think that you just have that conversation with myself of being aware that maybe there was like an internal subconscious prejudice that I had was important, because then it allowed me to get to the place where I was opening up my eyes more than I was.
Right, exactly. So that's what I really liked, is that you were able to recognize that you were just kind of surrounded in this space, and you grew up just attracted to what was surrounded, like what was in your environment. But then as you kind of like grew up, you were able to like question yourself and like really examine why you were making these choices. And having, I think, also like a family that was kind of open to you exploring that is super important.
Yeah, they were shocked. It was like the opposite. When I told them that we were starting to date, and I was like, yes, and I was always waiting for, every time I told friends, family, it was always like the mic drop. Like, what? It was the opposite. Like, instead of saying like, oh, hey, that culture, it was like, oh, guess what? He's actually Asian American. People were like,
oh.
Okay. And so your parents are kind of like shook that you decided to date an Asian American. Okay, cool. How about you, Clay?
Me?
Yeah.
Well, it's so funny because Dante has like been there majority of my dating, right? So he see me with a variety of different, people. But I was actually pretty lucky because I think my older sister, she kind of paved the way. So she's dated like Vietnamese, Chinese, Filipino, Latino, but she's now currently married to an Italian Caucasian guy. He's grew up in the West Coast. He grew up in Union City, and he's probably, the way I describe him will probably make you think like, okay, this guy's very, very white, right?
Oh, dude, I dare you.
Truck driver. He builds muscle cars.
What?
Used to street race. He owns his own trucking company. Yeah. So if I just said that, you'd be like, okay, this guy's like super white. But he's super, he's interesting because I've seen him. I grew up with him. He's actually the reason why I got into, metal music, right? His best friend is, African American. He's grew up with a lot of African American.
Do you think it would have been different if he's African American or Latino?
I don't think so because
with your parents?
No, I don't think so because my parents, especially my mom, they got sponsored by a family in Pennsylvania.
Mhm.
So they're not just escaping the war to America. They're going to like Pennsylvania. That's where they like make
Yeah.
people. You know what I mean? So I mean, like,
Make white people.
like, so they're already engulfed in that culture, and this family they probably set it off on a really good tone, like, oh, not all white people are like that, right? Especially at that time, you're seeing all these like white U.S. soldiers coming to Vietnam and just destroying the land, right? So
Yeah.
and then she's young, so she's like 18 and she's seeing all this stuff, in wartime, hopping over landmines, like, oh, I gotta go, right? And then she escaped here. But then, anyways, so my parents were pretty understanding for the most part, but I think in my case it's different, right? Because I get a lot of, I don't want to say I get it. There's another like dating group, right, that I'm in, and a lot of people ask these questions like, how do I do this? How do I talk to this girl? Da, 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 right? And then in my mind, I'm like, you guys are, what the hell is wrong with you guys, right? But I also forget that these men who are asking this is very typical demasculated Asian males who are short, probably not tall,
Right.
wear glasses, whatever, right? Skinny.
Glasses.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just kind of saying like the stereotype of like Asian males, right? And I always question like, what's wrong with you guys? But then I look at myself, I'm like, oh, okay, well, one, like I'm blessed because I don't look that Asian. Like,
I thought he was mixed when I first met him.
yeah.
Yeah.
He's tall.
Yeah,
and
so
his hair.
Yeah, the hair.
His
The
hair.
Bruno Mars look, kind of.
yeah, so I'm pretty fortunate because I'm not a typical Asian. I don't look Asian. My hair is curly, and I'm also 6 feet tall. So there's that factor too that's like added to me as a male who's Asian, and I don't give off that that stereotype like, oh, that's that Asian kid, or oh, he's very Asian. So I'm pretty. My circumstances are pretty rare.
Was there a certain type you were attracted to?
No, I don't know. I mean, like I dated. Let me see. I mean, I did date like Vietnamese Chinese girls in the beginning, but then like maybe two. But then after that, it's just a blur. Like I'm serious. I'm not even exaggerating. It's just I'm not even trying to flaunt either because it's not very flattering.
I don't know. I know nothing.
Okay, so I'll say this, right? I'll say this, like pretty much like everything, but like Middle Eastern and Indian girls, right? I just don't know, and I just never had that opportunity to do that, right? And I probably would never will. So
that's also different though than like what are the backgrounds of ethnic racial that you brought home versus dating too?
No, I mean, well,
Yeah, that's a good point.
yeah. So I did bring. I mean, hold on, sound offensive. So okay, so I did bring home many different varieties of ethnicities, and then again, luckily my parents weren't like, oh, I see you're dating a white girl now. You know what I mean? Like they're not.
I wonder too. I wonder he's the only boy. So I wonder if there's a gender dynamic too. Just throwing it out there.
I do think there might be a gender dynamic, right? Like to kind of show your masculine prowl, right? Like it's kind of encouraged, don't you think? To
Be masculine.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
To date all types of women, right?
Yeah. That's what we do.
Okay.
True. Like, what else do you want me to say?
True.
And like from different cultures within Asian American, but at least I know in general it could be like for the men in Asian American families, the boys can get away with more.
Definitely, same in our culture. It kind of just proves your masculineness, and I think, I don't know, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but if there is this stereotype of what like Asian men are supposed to be in society, you going out there and experiencing all types of women really contradicts that stereotype, right? Yeah. So it's like really encouraged for an Asian person like you, because you're butting the stereotype.
Yeah. So What was the original question?
Oh, I guess the original question was, how do you guys like navigate people's opinions within?
Okay. So for one, for sure, 100% for sure. Like I don't give a fuck. Like most of the time, I don't care, because for one, like if attraction's there, is attraction's there, right? Actually, this is
us.
I know. Like
Right.
like I've heard everything, right? Oh, I didn't see you with like a girl like that. I even got messages like, oh my God, you could do prettier, from other girls who are hating whatever, right? But even from that point up until my past, like I've always had this, I don't care. Like your opinion does not matter. I've been trained and educated that like if their opinion, if they're trying to like push their opinion on you, like the first two questions you have to ask yourselves, right? One of them is, does their opinion like help you? And follow-up question is, does their opinion help pay your bills, right? And if the question is no, then fuck them. Seriously. And it's not like an arrogant approach. It's more of like if they really if people or these people who are around you really cared, you know, their opinion is their opinion, and they would understand that, right? And they would just be happy for you. If I knew that, I don't know, let's say like if I knew one of my friend was in a toxic relationship, and I knew like, oh my God, like you're getting older by the day, and it shows in your hair. And even if I say my piece, right? Like it's fine. I understand it's my opinion. All I can do is be a friend and support her or him, you know, during their phase,
in terms of interracial dating.
Yeah, no, specifically interracial. Yeah.
Nice.
But for me, it was people were shocked. It was like shocked about that we were dating. Now it's generally fine.
Nice.
Which I'm not used to too. I will say that.
Yeah, there's definitely have been a shift in energy with like, you know, people around us, where especially me, right? Like I'm not getting that hit up as much anymore. The energy from like, especially like, you know, female friends it's a little different. And these women are like Asian, you know, not Filipino, like Asian, Chinese, Vietnamese, yes. It's really weird. I know.
There's the tribalism thing I was talking about earlier. So so like Southeast Asians versus like the North.
The rest.
Asian, not Filipino Asian.
The rest of them.
There's a running joke in the Asian culture that like Filipinos are seen as like the outcasts.
Yeah. I can see that being.
I've heard that.
Yeah. I can see that being. It's. I mean, I know you explained that before we did this, but explain tribalism a little bit more because.
Oh.
Yeah, because you said it before we recorded.
Oh, right. Okay. So tribalism, just to like condense it, make it super simple concept. It's this idea of. So on the outside, we can say, "Oh, you're Asian," but within that Asian culture, we would say there's tribalism, or there's different types of people who have like different locations within Asia, who have their own dialect. They even have their own different genetic expression that differentiates them from like other Asian people. So like Filipino people look very different from, I guess you would say, Korean people. And within Asian culture, like you can tell the difference. And earlier I was saying that like there's a general human need to self-actualize yourself, to be the best human being you can be. Mm-hmm. And within your culture is supposed to be the one that supports that. So the reason why tribalism exists in general is to bring up the identity of those people. And the reason why we kind of like say, oh, we are us and they are them, is to make that distinguishing factor really prominent. I don't know if it's, I don't know. So like in Ghanaian culture, I I'm from the Ashanti tribe, and there's tribalism where people outside the tribe are seen as like really different, and they're considered foreigners, and there's a whole thing. Within the tribe, there's different cultural practices. The food you eat is different. All of this falls under tribalism. There's also this desire to like stick with your own or stick within the tribe. And so when you're talking about like those Asians versus us, that's a form of tribalism.
Makes sense. Yeah, because I've always been yeah, I can see a difference between Southeast Asian is a little different. I know Hui is Vietnamese, so that's Southeast Asian, right? Yeah, Southeast
Is it okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Is it? I don't know. So I can see that being. So I'm not sure what question you're on, Aunt Shirley.
I'm moving to number 3.
Okay, number 3. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm like looking at it here. I'm like, huh? Okay.
I know, because I'm going off on tangents as well.
It's okay.
Like,
It's all right. You're still in the show right now, so you're killing it.
oh God.
No, you're killing it.
Okay.
No, you're good. No, you're good. You're good.
So Kim, or this is obviously for both of you guys. What is some advice you would give people who have conflict within their families based off the ethnicity of their partner? So like, imagine if your parents weren't cool with the fact that you were dating like someone who's Asian American. How would you handle that conflict?
I mean, my answer is just
It's the same.
Okay.
It's just, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah,
where we're the same. But
Yeah.
I could say, I think, I mean, based off my own experience, it's tough. Like we both had parents that are really accepting. So I think we are given the privilege to have a fuck it mentality.
Yeah.
I can't imagine if my parents were absolutely, no, you cannot date, that you will be disowned. Like, I honestly, I don't know. That's a tough one to give advice on because I haven't experienced that.
Well, okay. Actually, never mind. I just remembered. Brooklyn, calm down. So actually, my parents, for the most part, would just kind of like, oh, okay, who's just bringing home whatever, right? But then it would be my grandpa, who I was at the time very close with. He would, without even saying a word, express how uncomfortable he was. So if I bring home like, and I'll just keep it real, right? Like if I bring home like an African American girl, or like a mixed African American to like Filipino girl, he would walk into the room, and he would like stop and just stare.
Yikes!
He would just stare like this. And I'm like, hey, Grandpa. And then he would just walk away, right? Uh-huh. But does he do that with Asian girls? No. He would say hello. He would try to speak Vietnamese to them when they're obviously like Laos or Chinese. You know what I mean? So there is a bit of resistance within the family and within like how what I was going through at the time. So yeah. And at that time, how I dealt with it, it's tough. It's only tough if it's coming from people that you really care about, right? Mm-hmm. Anyone can say, your book sucks, the way you DJ sucks, blah blah blah, right? But then when it comes from like your family, like it hits a little different. We should choose a different career than DJ. Ooh, I mean, like that's something, right?
It depends on honestly the level. Like the closer the family member, the more it hurts to me. That's why, because I have grandparents who, with past guys I've dated, especially that were African American Black, like my grandma or my Lola would have made, and in Filipino culture especially, it's very passive. So they wouldn't necessarily say it to me, but they sure would say it to my parents, who would then And in that way, I'd be like, well, whatever, that's Lola, that's grandma, it's old school. That's always like a big thing, right? It's like in Filipino culture, that's old school mentality. That's cool. So because it's my grandparents, like that, and it's that kind of idea of, okay, that's the old mentality. But if it were my parents that are closer to me, I think that it would hurt a lot more.
Yeah. So what advice would you give people who don't want to stick with the old culture and want to explore outside their ethnicity? Do you just and try not to say just be yourself? Like give me something like really like like
I think it's, you have to, I'm thinking of even when my own personal experiences, I think it's about finding a support system that's outside of your family. Then you have to have a chosen family that aligns with your interests, and have the kind of lifestyle and values that you have. Because it's important, and you should, because with dating comes the potential to get into a toxic situation. So you need to, I think it starts with a foundation of a support group, even if it's not family of blood, then creating your own group of support.
Awesome. Yeah. So really not just sticking with like culture per se, find a group outside of the culture, and then like have them be your support, because we're not just our ethnicity, right? We are our interests and our political values and all of these other things that bond human beings. So finding it goes, I think what I'm getting from that is just go beyond just like your ethnicity, and you'll find someone who appreciates that.
Because too, it's ethnic identity, racial identity is a huge part of a lot of us, especially embedded in the American way of being. But like you said, they're like Hui, he's really into heavy metal. Actually, the reason why we met and what really bonds us is actually not our Asian American background and commonality. It's actually our love of hip hop culture.
Wu-Tang.
Wow. All right. See,
we met. That's how we were able to bring our communities together. It's common language more than anything that we speak.
Oh, wow. Dude, that's so dope. That's like core values, right? That's something that's like, that goes to who you are, that makes you guys like connect beyond anything that's superficial, like culture.
Hip hop is bond. Hip hop is bond. It's true. It's facts, especially Wu-Tang. Thank forever.
Yeah. Real good girl.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. No, definitely. Yeah. Hip hop doesn't have much. It doesn't have discrimination of race. It's all universal. So
very open.
Yeah, it's really open. So we try. We forget that sometimes that we have different cultures, but hip hop kind of keeps everyone together. So that's what shout outs to hip hop.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean that. When you asked that question, Shirley. I was thinking about when she was talking about what she had to go through and how she navigated that. I think most men have the privilege that it's not as intense for them to bring someone outside their ethnicity to their family, right? Maybe really traditional Asian, Chinese, right?
Yeah.
Maybe like super conservative males, like with a very strict religious background, right? But definitely, it's definitely not as harsh as like what women go through. But I will say this though, I will say like if the you guys hear that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I heard it.
Sorry. So
I heard it.
So I guess the biggest thing I could say, especially for men, right? If they want their family to accept, their partner into, their family, or if they're trying to navigate that interracial dating. But one thing for sure is you can't, it's just thinking about like my history, right? Like men, like you shouldn't just react to how your family is reacting to to the partner that you're bringing home, right? Why is this girl here? I can bring whoever I want. You know what I mean? Like you can't be just doing that, right? Because now you've already created that rapport, not just like within yourself, with your family, but now like with any type of women that you bring home. It doesn't matter if they're the same ethnicity, right? That's just marketing. That's just basic like sales, right? So that's one. Another thing too is like it's also like the timing of things, right? Sorry. it helps if you like if you I know this for sure. It helps if you prep your family appropriately. Most of the time men don't. I'll just be honest. Yeah, they just do it. Oh, this is my girl. Oh, this is Sarah. This is Karen. Like no, you gotta, if you know, dating this new girl and then being accepted into her life is just as the same as, you know, with your family and trying to get accepted into them as well, or with them as well. So that's what I've noticed, and this is just what I've learned and what I saw from what my sister did, you know, with how like Robbie, you know, her husband, what he did with, you know, my family. Now he's like welcome. He's all over all the time, sleeps on the couch, whatever. Like it's all good because of that. You know how much rapport that he's built with our family.
Right.
You know, my sister.
Yeah. I actually have one more question just to piggyback off of what you just said. Earlier, you had mentioned how like gender makes it different, but I don't know if you guys have ever seen the studies where like OkCupid did like a study and they said like Black women and Asian men are like at the very bottom of the dating pool.
Yep.
Like, they get the least amount of interactions.
Yep. Yep.
So considering that, do you think I mean, like, as you said, like, as a man, like, ethnicity is not as, like, it doesn't really determine your choice as much, but how about in terms of, like, your masculinity and your own worth on the, like, dating market? Do you feel like you have to do more because you're Asian American, or, like, you think that's, like, like a hindrance? And I guess my main question is, like, how does, as a man, you navigate your masculinity while being Asian, and there's like all this like stuff, like OkCupid comes out with stats saying like you're not valued.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so again, like when I was on these dating apps, right? I remember it was so funny. I was at Baskin Robbins with my friend who was telling me about his dating challenges. And he was like, yeah, I'm on Tinder and I'm trying to do this thing. Tinder? What's Tinder? And this is like 2015, 16, maybe even 14, I don't know. And then so I you know, looked up Tinder and I was like, what? Right? Whatever. And then explored Bumble and then OkCupid. And this is before the stats came out, right? This is before like, oh, Asian American males are, you know, demasculated or whatever, right? I've never really thought about that, and I never really felt that, right?
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, and I think, and it's not like I'm a special Asian. That's not what I'm trying to say. I think it's because how I was raised and how I was, you know, who I was surrounded with, right? There was a lot of empowerment. There was a lot of like, you know, not that much, belittling, you know what I mean? Or, you know, whatever, right? You know, whatever that word is. I never really went through that. I've definitely been bullied when I was in elementary school, but after elementary, like middle school and high school, it was just like a consistent graph chart just going up in terms of, you know, building confidence in myself and building dating experience. But seeing that now, or, you know, seeing that within the last 2 years, you know, I see that and I'm like, okay, yeah, I get it, right? Well, like, let's be real, okay? Like, and this, I'm only saying this because there's people of color on this Zoom right now, and probably on the chat right now. Let's hella be honest, right? The only reason why there's even like statistics like that, or why, African American women and Asian American men are on the bottom of that list, is because what? Like based off of what, right? It's white media. Like that's just the truth. You know what I mean? It's not being racist. It's just, we live in America. The majority of these media companies are like, you know, probably white owned, and they're saying like, you know, I mean, if you guys seen Bowling for Columbine, they did a perfect example, right? African male, African male, African male. But suspect is African male, right? When those accusations in these sketches aren't even there, it wasn't even like true, it wasn't even accurate. So it's these white media companies feeding into like the media, and they're saying, yeah, you like Asian American men, you mean whatever, right? But then like, because that has endured for so long, because these Asian men have been enduring it for so long, what happened? Social media connected us all of way more. This concept of something called new power came into play. To comprise it, old power is like super basic, pyramid, right? New power is like crowdfunding. So like Reddit or like Twitter, that's crowdfunding. So people actually have to say versus like it's a something, right? But
can I bring up a topic?
No.
Oh, go ahead. Okay, fine.
Where you
Oh.
So pretty much what I'm trying to say is like, so now like, Asian American or Asian males are like, they're coming up, right? There's more Asian males, being hired for like acting jobs and whatever. So that's statistics of, the OkCupid thing. It was good timing for that to come out, and for this media to come and say, hey, this is how we feel about these ethnicities. But then it backfired on them, because like, Black culture has never been that strong as it was before. Like, it's freaking amazing. Same with like Asians. Like, it's there. Asians is in almost every media right now.
Yeah.
So in short, I never really saw it a problem. I always saw it as to my advantage, if anything.
Yeah, for sure.
Which I think is not the case, though, for the general experience.
What do you mean?
Yeah, expand on that. Sorry for screaming.
Oh, yeah.
I was going to bring up, in terms of this topic and with gender, have y'all ever heard about what happened with Issa Rae? Talking about how Black women, if you want anyone to date, because we're supposed because this idea that we don't have anyone, we should date Filipino men. And the crazy lashback she actually got for saying that. I just would love to hear what y'all think about it.
Yeah, I remember hearing about that, and it's weird. So as Black women, there's a stereotype that we should stick within our own, right? But then if we stick within our own, and we have a lot of media saying like, oh, we're unattractive, like we'll be waiting forever for our Prince Charming to come. So like when Issa Rae said that, and I think she said it as a joke, but like a lot of Black women's experience now, I think, is like being comfortable with dating out. But it's weird, like there's like this backlash. Like, it's okay if Black men do it, but it's not okay for Black women to do it. I've never seen, well, that's not true. There is backlash for Black men if they date outside their race, but I don't think it's so like vitriol, like so like demeaning as it is for Black women. I don't know.
Yeah, someone's tweet right here said, oh, where'd it go? Oh man, of course he.
No, it's right there. It's right there.
It said, to respond to it, because I was like, oh, this reminds me of that topic. So I was reading some tweets from it. One says, Donald Glover told y'all he only dates Filipino women, and you ninjas watch Atlanta and laud him as some millennial meta Negro visionary, but y'all canceling Issa Rae.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you for bringing up that tweet. I appreciate you. Yes, exactly. It's just not the same. Also, I think Donald Glover his wife currently, and they have beautiful children, but his wife is white.
Yeah.
So he told me about that. He was playing, he likes Childish Gambino. He's playing a song. Yeah. He talks about dating Asian women. I was like, oh yeah, Donald Glover loves Asian women. He's like, yeah, but his wife's white. I was like, what? So that's what shocked me.
All the white women, they always win.
Yeah. Get out.
They always been a Black man's kryptonite for years. So it's been the Black man's kryptonite.
There's the level of he's dating outside of his race. Then he's also now fetishizing and exotifying Asian women because he's married to a white woman.
Yeah, it's usually sorry.
And Donald Glover is gonna like live his life. He's gonna continue making music. Like no one's going to like demean him as an artist because of his like, you know, wife's like ethnicity, whatever. However, if we just flip it and like Issa Rae was to like start dating like a white dude, for example, people would be going in on her. Like it wouldn't be just about her, the content she creates. It's about like, oh, she sold out, and like you would hear it in every conversation. It's something I've experienced myself as well when I've dated out. Was like this kind of like betrayal of the race that like
How dare you? How dare you date a white man? How dare you be with the Asian guy?
Yeah, it was weird because like my brother, he specifically dates like Filipina girls or Latina girls or white girls, and like while my mom's a very traditional Ghanaian woman, she's never been so iffy about them as much as like it was for me to date like outside of my group.
So,
Anyway, thank you for bringing up that tweet.
so
Receipts on deck.
So I know Kylie said she had a question to ask you guys. All the midst of everything, what's happening with the coronavirus, how are you guys quarantining together? How is that working out with you guys seeing each other more often than usual? How's that working? I know it's kind of getting off topic from interracial dating, but you know it's a good question to ask a couple that lives together.
Yeah.
We're going crazy.
I'm a very I gotta process questions first, so you go first.
It's fine. I honestly like. If anything, it's been very, very good training. Yeah.
Training? What do you mean kind of training? What do you mean? Explain.
Like good training on like patience and
sorry.
Oh.
Marriage.
Yeah. So I mean,
It's like marriage.
I've been in relationships where I've lived with them, right? But then there are some days where I'm just like, I'm fucking out, right? I'm leaving the damn house. You know what I mean? Like I'm throwing.
Damn this corona.
Yeah.
No one could stop me.
Yeah. But this time right now, I mean, we've already been living with each other for a few months. And when this COVID-19 came into play, it was okay. So I had the struggle of like, damn, you know. I remember specifically it was like mid-March, March 10th, March 11th, and you know, so I'm an independent contractor. I'm also like a contractor for an agency called Creative Transit Agency. We do a lot of live events, and I do their sound. I also do Hey Your Live ended. I also do.
I just got it.
And,
I mean,
and I also DJ and you know whatever, right? And it was just like back to back. And and at the time I was already not struggling, but I was already working really hard to, you know, make rent and, you know, pay off the, you know, utilities. And, you know, like we've been doing pretty good. Like we were like, good, you know, oh, babe, I'll see you later. I'm gonna go practice. So we understand our our distances and needs in terms of, you know, what I need for myself and what we need from each other. But man, when those numbers started going from 5,000 to 3,000, like, oh shit,
you're feeling it.
$2,000. Fuck. Come on, don't go below $1,500, and then boom, next thing you know, I'm out of work from now until like August, at least, right? And it might even be longer. Who knows? So, so with that, right? We know, and I know that she's like, I'm good, babe. I can cover it for if you need to, right? For me, it's like, like inside, you know what I mean? It's like it's very it doesn't feel good. Like internally, it doesn't feel good. Even if I know that the rent is covered, I still don't feel good. I did everything in my power to negotiate with the landlord, with the rent payment and stuff. I'm doing everything with like I've invested in stocks. I've like did some side gigs. I didn't sell anything, but I've done like live streams. I'm doing everything in my power to make this work, right? But the best thing about this dynamic is that she hasn't made me feel bad about it. So that's totally dope, right? And I've even like, fuck it, babe, I'm gonna go work at Amazon real quick, right? And even she was like, no, it's not safe. It's not cool. If you get the virus, so and I get it, right? But then me internally, I just feel like I fault, at some point, right? I'm like, dude, this sucks. I want to contribute more, right? So that's one part of it, and then there's no friction of it.
I see some of that part. Yeah, that's where gender again comes in for me. Is so into my 20s, I became like a really self-actualized feminist, and was like, independent woman, Beyonce. I'm gonna do me.
Yes.
And then even Beyonce, we like our generation with Beyonce, we've all gone to a point with her where it's like, oh, now we have to also compromise and understand the roles that we choose as being in a partnership with, I guess, a heterosexual partnership with a man. It's that as much as we want to be independent women and we can do everything, then to be in a relationship, there's also ways that we have to be okay that gender plays a part. So for him, like, yeah, I could cover rent easy. I mean, not easy, it'd still be a struggle, but I could cover it. And we'd have to budget for food and stuff, and I can't get like my fancy stuff, but we could do it. But I know to also step back at the same time, give him the space. I have to give him the space to also be the man that he has chosen and has constructed for himself and his identity.
Absolutely, yeah.
So that's that. So the financial piece has been actually, I'm pretty proud that we've been able to handle it well. But it is something that we've had to sit down and grapple with, of like, because money is a power thing in relationships, and especially with everything going on. I have the stable money and income, and he doesn't. So that could easily test his masculinity again already.
Exactly. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Really good answer.
Yeah, it's crazy.
My bad, Dante.
No. I'm just trying to figure out how I can do this with, what I got. I can go back on
the topic of vulnerability, and that's what I had said, right, in the chat. I was saying, I said that to me, it's important to have a partner, especially in a man, not about feelings and all that kind of stuff, especially, again, like Asian culture. Like, I understand, like, he might not want to talk about that all the time, and it gets exhausting for him. I can talk about it all day, but the part that I really need him to be vulnerable on is, especially given this time of COVID-19, is to be open and honest about our finances, because it also impacts me and me living here with him.
Yeah, absolutely. And so being in this situation, it's kind of put it's put certain things to the test, right? So in many ways, you operate in ways that are comfortable, but when you're confronted with this, and we're dealing with our financial situation, masculinity comes up, money comes up, power comes up, and you guys are really, really, really learning how to like delve into even a more authentic or more vulnerable relationship. That's awesome. Like I really love seeing you guys in this and being so open and expressing this with us, because I think for other couples, like COVID-19 has really tested them too, and not in the best of ways. So, like, you guys have a strong bond, and it's pretty obvious.
Yeah, it's pretty enough too, because the media did a good job on writing this craze on people of color being very violent and aggressive against each other. Because right before COVID-19 broke out, what was circling around? It was that video of these like hoodlums attacking that homeless Chinese guy.
Oh yeah.
It was like perfect timing. It was like such a horrible video. It made like Chinese people feel one way. It made like the African American community feel one way, right? For me personally, it was a very disturbing video to watch, but it was definitely not like a thing where I have to sit down and be like, oh, freaking African Americans, right? That doesn't make sense. It actually does not make sense to me at all. Like, especially how, and even when the political campaign was how it was structured too, right? It was a political campaign, and then boom, right? Chinese, Black people should hate each other. Like, what the fuck? So it was like very weird timing of that. And then boom, COVID-19. So it was a very, very interesting ride of the media, riding this momentum of this wave of like, Asians is this, Asians is that, whatever, right? But right now, like it's the biggest thing, I guess, for couples too, that couples can focus on, I guess, for us, especially coming from us, is like, just take it one day at a time and just keep consistently doing the basic things over and over again, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who's cooking tonight? Who's cleaning up Brooklyn's poop? Da, 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 da. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
all
it
that
has
stuff,
to
right?
be, it's a team, like it has to be that team effort.
Yeah.
So there's compromise in like identities and values, right? And then there's also the idea of, because he can't financially work so much right now, then he has stepped up and he'll make food for me when I have back all day.
Yeah.
That's interesting. And does that change like the gender dynamics or no?
Not for us, but like that generational thing, I cannot see my parents doing what we do.
Yeah.
And I mean, to be honest, like our dynamic has already been like that, but our work schedule was very conveniently not colliding. So she's working, 9 to 5, 9 to 4, whatever, and I'm like working like admin work during those times. But then I have the privilege and the luxury to like cook for the both of us for dinner.
Mm-hmm.
And after dinner, it's like hustle time for me because I DJ at night, right? So there is an interesting dynamic to that, right? But it's also a luxury of like, both of us, because, if she needs help from me during the day, I can do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Unless I have like a daytime gig or like a festival I'm working or something. But for the most part, it's the same hours. It's just, I'm a little bit more flexible, right? Can you, can you deliver these packages? Yeah, I got it. No problem. I got time, right? Versus how she's at the office all day, and I had to like respect that, and I can't really, demand anything from her at that point. Maybe it's some like printed paper, I don't know, whatever, right? But from that, like I don't, we kind of get it. Now it's like super support system, and she's like working. You know what I mean?
Interesting. Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Wow.
I know.
Thank you so much.
Finances are a tough thing to talk about, especially with couples, and it's a touchy subject especially for myself. I get pretty sensitive with that, so I get it. There's an aspect to it too, but I don't know if you guys want to continue or not. But like the live stream is off. I have to restart everything and then open it back up with the live stream.
It's okay. Just whatever. Fuck it.
Yeah,
Okay. I'm not sure if you guys want to continue or not.
I mean, you're recording it, right? You're gonna post it later.
Yeah, I'm recording. I'm recording now. So like, just the live stream is no longer. So okay, all right.
You have to exit out and then start over again.
Yeah, that's all, because I don't know why it's not letting me to reboot it, because I think I timed out with Instagram.
Do it real quick.
So we have to sign off.
I mean, if you guys want, okay. Yeah, we could. Yeah, okay.
One.
Like, we're not perfect. We have had like small fights and we get annoyed at certain things. I can't imagine if you're in a relationship where it's actually like straight toxic.
Yeah.
Like abusive, right? Because like you can't go anywhere.
Yeah.
Literally, like you're stuck there.
Yeah. I said I want it in and out.
Flip out. Yeah, no, throw the shit out. Yeah. No, I mean, being single right now, I mean, you guys got out the game where you can, because it's been kind of hard out here. Hard out here for a pimp, man. No, I'm just kidding. No, I mean, like honestly, like the single life is like it's pretty cold out there now. It's gotten pretty interesting, especially with now the virtual dating. Now people's hormones are like up another level because now they don't have any contact. So it's like I feel like there's gonna be a lot of babies popping out this year, for sure. And I mean, that's why I see it. I see like it's gonna be like a huge baby boom, because everyone's gonna be like, "What the fuck?" Like shit. I feel so bad for like people who are in healthcare, like because no one wants to deal with them, no one wants to be around them. So it's just like, fuck. I know they're like all kinds of messed up.
Putting their occupation on their profile right
I mean, you're gonna walk in there with some scrubs. You're like, oh, I just got off work, and the guy's gonna be like, oh, the guy or girl's like, get out, get out.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's you guys got out while you can. So
How about have you had any like? Because this could also be a time where exes get bored.
oh, there's a lot of exes that be. I mean, I don't have exes, but I heard a lot of girls that told me that they have a whole bunch of exes. I'm not gonna say any names that contacted them on DMs. They shot them a DM and shot the shot. They were like, "Oh, hey, how's it going?" And then they all know, like, come on, man, like,
We're bored. Like we have nothing else to do.
it's just, yeah. It's interesting, but yeah, the interracial part of it too. I know I didn't really talk much about. I mean, you guys probably heard a little bit from the last episode, how I went around. I've dated different cultures and I've been adapted to it. I'm sure you guys heard my story in the last episode about me. What's going on, Gabe? Gabe Golden's on. Yeah, I just thought I would just clarify that I was inducted into the Asian culture like pretty late. Not late, but kind of like, oh, it was kind of a harsh reality. Like, this is Asian culture. Take off your shoes when you walk in the house. Didn't know that. Okay, didn't know that. Didn't exist to me. So it took a while for me to get to that point. Like, I finally got, all right, second girlfriend. I took off my shoes when I walked in. All right, step one, I'm good. And then step two, I messed up. I messed up on the second time. I put soy sauce in my rice before I ate it, and it was just like, they lost their shit. Yeah.
Again, that might be a generational thing, because in my house,
Yeah.
It's actually ironic that my best friend I grew up, my childhood best friend, she's black. In her house, I had to take off my shoes.
See? Well, the girl I dated, she was Korean. So she was like first gen Korean. So it was like her dad like literally took off his handkerchief, just like slammed it and walked out. I was like, oh, huh.
So the Asian women that you dated, do they have a conversation with you before they bring you home?
After, I'm like, why do you set me up? I was like, you set me up, man. I was like, no, I mean, maybe she assumed because she's never dated someone outside the race too. Maybe she did, maybe she didn't. But she didn't tell me that. I was like, oh, that could have helped me when I walked in.
Yeah.
So I look like a fool. I'm looking like I'm dressed like I'm in the club with a button-up shirt on, like nice jeans. Like, I'm trying to make a good impression, so they won't think I'm some kind of like, random black dude that just walked in. So
I think also might be a little awkward for the person dating the interracial person, especially because it's like the very first time.
Yeah.
How do you navigate like you want
first timers?
Yeah.
Okay, navigate. You want to ask him or that's a universal question?
It's a universal question.
Okay, I'll let Hui and let the guest speakers speak first.
Like that, yeah. I have to think back on other partners, like having to have that conversation. I think I went the route not.
Yeah.
I was like the girl Dante you dated, like they're just gonna have to we'll just see how it goes.
Oh, jeez. You're one of them. Set me up. Setting them up for failure. I mean, like we were talking about in our last episode, it's a lot of pressure being the first.
Yeah.
Being the first of that one. I can see that can be that could be an issue, because if you're like their first exposure to that other race, they're going to have a whole opinion about the rest after that point. Like, their standards are going to be like, okay, this is what I expect for every like Hispanic, black, white guy I date. This is going to be like this. You know what I mean? They have that kind of ideal. So, I mean, that could be a lot of pressure for the first timers, but how to combat it is different. But
did you have that pressure, Hui, when you were dating Kim? Like, as I'm the first Asian guy she's ever been with, like I have to, like, there's a lot of pressure for me here to perform.
Or for Hui, or is it Hui had the pressure?
Yeah, because he's her.
He's her first. Yeah, he's her first.
Want my honest answer? So
Here we go.
Uh-oh.
I mean, okay. So once again, my ethnicity is Vietnamese, right?
Yeah.
But all my clients are Filipino. My mentor slash partner is Filipino.
Who's your mentor, huh? Tell him.
Business partner.
Business partners.
Cool.
We're one of the biggest main service providers for the biggest Filipino festival in the Bay Area. Honestly, I just felt like I was coming home. You know what I mean? Like, and it's not, it's just, the real truth. Kind of surround yourself. You kind of attract who you surround yourself with, right? So, me being with a Filipino woman, honestly, it's really not a surprise. Like I was like, yeah, this is right. Like it wasn't like, ooh, a Filipino woman. It was like, oh no, this is
exotic.
This is what's happening. This is it.
What about you meeting like my circles the first time? Did you
your circles?
Was there a theme of kind of like how they were reacting to you?
Yeah. That for sure. Okay. So we went to her good friend's wedding, and it was a consistency of like, oh, this is who my boyfriend, and like, oh, I'm like,
oh, like that though, really?
Yeah.
And actually, now that I think about it, a lot of people actually thought he was Filipino.
Oh.
So it's like, oh, she finally got someone that's her race.
Oh, I see.
I think, especially in California, it's almost, generally it's seen like Filipinos are more like seen as like a positive. So when we went to that wedding, they were like, oh, well, he's tall, right? His curly hair, all that kind of stuff.
Oh.
He must be Filipino or mixed. But when they learned like he's Vietnamese, which is ironic because it was a Vietnamese wedding, a lot of them were like, what?
Yeah.
Actually, when we first started dating, he was meeting people. People thought, wait, he has to be mixed or Filipino. They were like really confused.
Yeah, I thought so too. No.
But again, that's the special circumstances that I've gone through. But the other part is like, motherfucker, like what? Like it wasn't like annoying to where like I was offended, but it was like y'all need to relax. Like it's just another wedding and I'm her date. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't that like big of a deal, like it's just, it is what it is. I know for sure in Texas, like especially in like Austin or something, it's a very normal thing. Very like when you introduce your date who's like not the same race. Yeah, because I've like done, because I've done a lot of weddings for people who are Texans. Like the dynamic is very different, right? But for some reason, California, it's not as progressive as it's weird. It's random, but
what do you think, Kim?
About Texas?
No, Texas.
What about Texas?
Well, yeah.
About which part?
Oh, any of it, because I saw you reacting.
I don't know. I mean, I think when he would get the reactions, I also thought like, oh, that's like a compliment as a Filipino American. That's a compliment. Like, oh, people think he's like Filipino. That's nice. But on the other hand, it's kind of fucked up. We're like Vietnamese people. Like, it's fucked up. Like, why can't he just be a full Vietnamese guy? Like,
Damn, dude, it's different.
Yeah,
he's different.
But I'm not offended. Like it's. Again, I understand what the media has done, and I understand that I'm not a normal Asian guy. So, like, it is what it is, right? Because if I was a normal Asian guy, like, I wouldn't have been able to date X amount of different ethnic women, right? Including, like, Caucasian or white, right? But I also know how it feels to be, exotified, because when I was dating, a few Caucasian women, like they made me feel exotified, and I didn't like it. That's when it went too far. I was like, it's not,
It's like, I've never dated an Asian guy before. You're like, here we go.
and it's interesting because then they'll be like, yeah, have you ever tried, vermicelli shots? Like, yeah, bitch, fuck, I make that. You know what I mean? Like it's a very interesting dynamic at that point, right? Now it's not even like a relationship or love. It's just like a fantasy, like a fulfilling. And I'm crazy, from African American men to, XYZ women. Same with like, yourself, Shirley, to XYZ males, right? It's the same shit. And it gets annoying. Yeah. But,
Yeah, for sure. So
Yeah.
I
I mean,
like. Oh, go ahead.
oh, good. No, good.
I was just gonna say I like that the way you expressed it. It was like I was coming home, like that level of comfortability. Whereas when I've dated interracially, I feel like there's a lot of like explaining of myself that I have to do, which is awkward. You don't do that when you're at home.
Yeah.
And go ahead. Yeah. Throw that back to you, Dante.
So, I mean, yeah, I get that a lot too because I dated people who never dated black guys. And they're like, oh, I'm like exotic now. Like, I've never dated, and I typically attract girls that are like, oh yeah, this is how black guys gonna be like aggressive, right? Big dick energy, right? That kind of shit. So it's just like, for us normal. I was like, oh shit, I mean, I can't compare my thing to somebody else's thing. So I mean, like, but it's such a high standard because now you see how black men are marketed like. So it's like, oh yeah, black men are supposed to be like this way, this way, this way. So it's just like, I'm exotic now to that point. Like, I don't know. I think how it stands, like what we talked about before, like white men are like the highest, right? And like Asian women are like the highest, right? And then like below is like the Asian male, and then like black women. And like I think second's like either, I think it's black or Hispanic. I can't remember for men. But it's just like after that second point, I was like, oh, all right, okay. I feel like even when I'm on Tinder and thing, I'm like that. Tinder and Bumble, I typically look at it. I'm like, okay, what kind of black guy is she looking for? Like when they match and they're like interracial, I go, all right, and I have to look, and I'm like, what kind of friends does she hang out with? What kind of black guy is she looking for? Am I her first or am I her mini? So it's a lot of, it's a lot of things I think about when I date interracial too. But I know one of the topics we got really heavy on.
Uh-oh.
I'm going to bring it up, and it's probably going to be the last question before we end it.
Okay.
Now, is it racism to deny a perfectly suitable partner who isn't your racial preference? This got pretty heavy because we're not talking about preference and racism are kind of two different things.
Ask that question one more time.
So, is it racism to deny a perfectly suitable partner who isn't your racial preference?
Who is it?
Yeah, who isn't your racial preference? Because people have the racial preferences. Let's say like you find someone who's like, oh man, like they got everything I like about this person, but they're Asian or they're African, they're black or they're Filipino. That's the only thing that's stopping them turning away to finding that perfect person.
So their race is the determining factor as to why you don't choose them?
Yeah. So what's your guys' thoughts on it? Because that got pretty heated. And Shirley was felt very strongly about it.
Yeah.
And that's gonna be like the last question because I think that was like one of the ones that was pretty heavy. So, is that considered racism or is it considered a preference to you guys, like a racial preference?
Is that when we listened in on 2 days ago, that it was interesting for me to hear from y'all's perspective about as Black African American men of having almost that guard up and almost like a fear or paranoia, whatever you want to call it, about like, oh, is this woman liking me because she wants to exotify me? That was an interesting perspective because as someone who has been on like Tinder and Hinge pre-Hui, it's interesting. That wasn't my intention, but I could see how what an experience that could be on the other end. So that I just want to say that was a new insight for me. But in terms of this one, I mean, it's a heavy topic because it's a complicated answer. It's not a black or white, literally, answer.
Yeah, I agree, and I think
I agree with and Shirley about its intention. It's why it's the context of it all.
Yeah, I think my whole thing was we don't exist in a vacuum, and our racial preferences are often influenced by the society that we're growing up in. And so if I tell a man that he has no chance with me simply because he's Indian, that's often I'm not just discriminating him based off of like, oh, his ethnicity, my preference, whatever. I'm backing it by like all the cultural messages that I've had and what people have told me about Indian men. and like if he's everything I've ever wanted and it's just his ethnicity that's stopping me from being with him, then to me that is racist, because it's like I like food, right? And if I'm hungry, I'm gonna go like to whatever's nearby, right? Like I'm not gonna discriminate on food just because like I just feel like it has to have like I have to have equal opportunity to like choose from like McDonald's, Taco Bell, Carl's Jr., whatever. To say like specifically I can't, like, how do I say this? I might not be a fan of Taco Bell, but I might find something that I really like at Taco Bell, so to speak. And I can't say like, oh, if I find a guy that I really like and he meets all those things, all my like checklists, but the only thing that's stopping me from dating him is his like the color of his skin, like that's ridiculous. Yeah. In my opinion, because I like men. Attractive is attractive. But that's
Yeah,
just
I mean, yeah, I mean, whatever you're attracted to him, you know, guys, I think what kind of got confused with people with preferences, because Andre also mentioned, oh, would you date someone who's shorter than you, or would you do this? I'm like, well, shorter, yeah. Like you mentioned that it can, you know, eye color, hair color can be changed, beard can be cut, things like that. And when it comes to race, it's like you're pretty much not accepting someone for their culture, more as like not much of their color. I think that's what kind of got thrown off a little bit, because I think what I felt what you were coming from, I felt what Andre was coming from. He was saying like, yo, like I'm not gonna date black girls because of this part of the culture, or that I'm not really cool with. Like I've been around it and I'm not. I think that's what they were trying to articulate, but it was it got thrown off with just like, oh, okay, so it's because of their color or their race. I'm like, oh yeah. I mean, it's a tough question. It's very open, especially when you're talking about someone's culture and race at the same time. It's a very sensitive subject, but that's why I said, like, is it a fine line between racism or preference? Because there's certain people who specifically go for black men or black women or Hispanics, Filipinos. Like it's specifically for that. They, you know, that's a preference, I guess. But when you neglect the other one, it's more of a like culture or racism. I think that's what could have been said.
Generally, yeah.
Right. Okay. So hope I'm not getting too philosophical. I know we don't. Okay. All right. I usually just go, oh, okay. All right. Making sure. But yeah, because listening to the podcast again, I was like, okay.
I think it's a fine line, or it's just a blurry line more than it's a fine line to me.
Yeah.
Because I had said like race and ethnicity can be socially constructed the way we see them, the way we understand them, especially in a country like America. So, because are you talking about the social contract that you understand, your understanding of this person or this culture that you are embedding and putting onto this person, or is it externally? And then I think that it can get blurry there too, because you could be like, I prefer a darker or a lighter skinned guy that may be taller and then has this color, and then it's like, okay, well then if you get so specific like that, you also could be basically talking about, so you don't like this type of guy. Like,
Well, I seen it where it happened where certain experiences that you dealt with that race that what turns you away, right? You dealt with like bad experiences with, like, say, like we'll go with like black guys, like, oh, I'm never gonna date a black guy because they're like fucking like this, and they're like this, and I'm not gonna date them. So I mean, would that be considered racism too? Because they don't, or are they just going off of experience, them dating like same race for so many different times? Is that just the people that they attract, or is it considered racism?
This is an interesting question to ask me too, because I would say I hope not, because I had really bad experiences, and it's not to attribute it, and I don't attribute it to the culture or the race and the ethnicity, but I had 2 really bad experiences in my 20s with my last 2 exes that were African American and Black. Especially my last ex, he ended up cheating on me.
Oh, damn.
And told his other girlfriend that what justified him in cheating and being with both of us is that I could not understand his culture like she could.
Yeah.
and that I wouldn't measure up to her.
And she was a Black woman.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah.
So I think it's context again. Like, I wouldn't say, let's say, like, God forbid we didn't work out. I'd have a tough time. I would have a tough time again getting back into the game, especially to date a Black American guy.
Yeah.
But it's context. It's not to attribute it to. It's such an individual experience that I've had.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to say like, well, oh, because this is what I had experienced, that means all are like that.
Right.
Yeah, but a lot of people do though. There's this couple people like, oh, that's why exactly why I don't date these like Hispanic girls. Why I don't do this, and this is why, right? And it's just like, oh, that's not.
That's the difference between preference and racism, right? Like, I've had my personal experiences and I prefer not to go through this again versus, oh, they're all like this, so I can never like ever find someone attractive, and that you don't even give them the chance because of the color of their skin.
Yeah. And people I guess we're cut from a different cloth. People generally look at that as a culture or race thing too, because the standardization that's been set for them from dating so many, and it's like, oh, okay, so it's normal. You know what I mean? Like, so like, so you're just like, oh, this is how it is.
What are our thoughts on talking about dating a white person, as all folks of color in this discussion?
Oh man! Speaking of which, Dibs just came on here. Dib just hopped on.
Okay.
My boy. What's up, Dibble?
Speaking of white person,
it's not.
And then it got quiet. No.
Growing up, I grew up in a white, predominantly white Caucasian city. I grew up in San Ramon. So when I first moved out there, coming from Oakland, I was like, oh man, white women are like the thing, man. This is it. Like this is smack dab. This is it. And I was stuck on it for a while, and I was like, it was like our, like, we made it. It's like, oh, we made it. You know what I mean? Like, as far as Black people, like when you date a white woman or marry a white woman, that's what every Black dude thinks. Until I saw, like, when I saw Get Out, the movie Get Out, yo, it was too real. It was too real. It was very like, it's very surreal because I dated a girl that had a family who owned a summer home in Tahoe, Lake Tahoe. And like the question you asked, he's like, hey, does your parents know I'm Black? He's like, well, why does it matter? I was like, well, right? It's just the question you want to ask. It's like, do they know? They're okay with it. Like, they vote for Obama. That's fine. They like, right? They say shit like that. I'm just like, oh, okay, all right. I wouldn't say like it's, as my preference, I put white women like the bottom. I love my white women. But at the bottom, probably preference-wise, just based on me being surrounded by it most of my life, I'm like, all right, I get it. Like, it's normally, I'm open to it still. I'm still open to it. I'm always open to it, not hating on it. But it's like, it's hard for me to, like you said, go back to that. Like what Kim said, like going back to like a Black guy or whatever case may be, if it ever happened. It's kind of like you have to build that up again.
Yeah, for sure. I agree.
Yeah, you could say something about it after that. That was like my little spiel about it.
So I grew up in San Jose. I grew up in Sunnyvale. So like, most of the people around me were either Asian or white. And I guess that's what I just gravitated to, were Asian and white men. And then I feel like as I've gotten older, though, I feel like I have to be more conscious about like my choices. So I don't want to just like date. I think it's more than just like dating who's attracted to me. I want to be like, I if it happens, I want to have like Black children. I want to have a Black partner. So I would be open to dating a white person, but just based off of like where, like what I want to see my ideal family look like. I'm not sure if that's, I'm not sure if that's going to be like in my future. I'd be surprised if that happens. Just because I'm trying to be more conscious about like my dating choices.
Yeah.
So can I ask, and Shirley, was that, how did that develop for you? Was it just because of experiences, or then your own like self-actualization of like who you are and how that impacts who you want to be with as a partner now?
Sure. To be very honest with you, I guess looking back on it now, I had a lot of like self-worth issues. Again, growing up as like the only Black girl in a community of like Asian and white people, it's kind of hard not to look at yourself as like undesirable. So as I've grown up and started to embrace like what my Black womanhood means and like the beauty in that, I've realized like other Black people are beautiful too. And when I went to college, like, and especially the major I majored in, political science, it just like really brings to the front of like, okay, these are all your biases because you were raised in this community and you need to check yourself. And so like, as so I've like, my very first love was Chinese American. The man that I was with, like my second boyfriend, was white American. But mostly as I've become more conscious of like how it exists to be like this person and the beauty in that, like I find that I'm more I'm attracted to Blackness because I see Blackness in me that's beautiful. But that did not exist when I was younger at all.
It's true.
Yeah.
Same. Yeah, because samesies. I mean, honestly, like for me, it's like it's tough because being like, of course, Aunt Shirley, she's Ghana, right? She has culture. She already has that kind of the backup for it. Being of whatever generation I am in America, I'm Americanized, so there's not much culture that I grew up with.
Yeah.
So me surrounded by, like, say, if I date a white person who is from America too as well, that like that culture we both don't have, we're just like, oh, right? We're just like, because like we're both like just on the unknown, like, oh well, shoot, right? And every time I see a white person who has the last name Johnson, I'm looking like, I used to look at him like, I was like, were you like a slave owner? Like, did you right? Did you slave my peoples? Like, you know what I mean? So, but that's what I kind of look at it too from that point of perspective. Like when you attract to someone who actually has culture, it's opening up your eyes to different things instead of just the same normal thing.
Right.
But I mean, that's what I've noticed. Yeah.
Going back to actually what we said about that whole going home kind of thing.
Yeah.
More single and you're more aware of who you are and you're forming that. It's finding a partner in whatever way it means. It could be race and culture, ethnicity, or maybe it's like some of the lifestyle or sexuality. But it's basically you want to find a way of coming home. Because I agree with him in that way. Because I never dated an Asian American man, there's a beauty that I've been able to experience in learning how many things we have in common that I didn't have to talk about or explain. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. It's this feeling of coming home because I see, like you said, I see the beauty in me within you.
Yes. Yes, exactly. That was really well said. He just did Wu-Tang.
Wu-Tang forever.
That was beautiful. Honestly beautiful. I'm gonna get emotional. Yeah. As you've grown, you have come to home within yourself, and to have a partner who sees that beauty in you without fetishes, without like all of that extra stuff, he sees you. Like that's something that you can't buy. That's something that you can't, like, it's very hard to find. And that's why I want to be more conscious within my own choices with my partner, because I want to feel value for all of me, not just like the exotification of like being with an African person, which like you don't have to explain yourself when you're with someone who's home. You don't have to do all this extra stuff, and the bond feels more authentic. You're never like questioning, like, are they with me because like I'm this, you know what I mean? Like there's this exotification of people of color when you're in relationships with white people. I don't think they intend it. I think it's just like, I think white people also like want to expand their selves. So,
but they do. They're very open. Yeah,
very open people.
Very open.
Yeah.
But I mean, like a lot of my friends who are white, my close friends, a lot of their partners are interracial. So it's you know, them jumping onto that, like it's like, oh, okay, all right. Oh. You know what I mean? Oh, I thought you always like white girls. Like, oh no. It's like, damn, right? So, but hopefully, I think in the beginning, I think they get that exotic factor where they're just like, oh man, I never dated an Asian girl, like, right? And they're just like all fetishized, right? And then they're like,
Yeah.
I think in
So-
dating, if I were to date a white person, it won't have to be a really special.
dang.
There has to be at some point, as down as they want to be, there has to be a point. Just like when I dated my past partners that were African American and Black, like I have to understand at some point, like I have to understand who I am in this relationship
Yeah.
and external society.
Yeah.
And so if I were to date a white person, like it's just tough because then I would come into it, especially like they're the top of the top for privilege, especially for me, a male,
Yeah.
a white male.
Yeah.
You gotta
Yeah.
know
Credit scoring good and
where
everything.
they're placed in certain times.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know. I mean, you have, like, it seems like you're already in a very healthy relationship already where you guys are able to have those, like, sorry, what?
Silly.
Oh, well, I was just gonna say, like to add on the extra, like you have to, how do I say this? When you're dealing with like a white dude, it's not just like his maleness that you have to deal with. It's like his whiteness on top of it. And
Yes.
it's exhausting, trust me. It's exhausting.
So
And
why is it like that?
why do you guys do this? Or like, oh my God, it's a lot. But yeah, it'd have to be a really special white person, but even then you'd have to constantly be like on that, on making sure he's not fetishizing you. But like, speaking of fetishes, like, do you guys think it's, I don't know, this is a weird question.
Make it quick.
Do you guys think it's like a not a good thing, but it's like a good starting point when you're trying to date interracially? Like, are the stereotypes true? And if the stereotypes are what attract you, like that's
Well, is it offensive to? Is it? Should you not bring that up?
right.
I mean, I say do it.
Yeah, I mean, whatever gets you to be open. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't see it being anything else.
Yeah.
Clearly, or what? Like, oh, is this why you're dating me?
No. And she was asking, like, is it, like, should you ask, like, if say, like, someone's dating, like, us as Asian Americans, should they ask, like, oh, is the stereotype true? But, like, because they want to ask, but is it offensive? Like, will it turn, like, is it a turn off?
Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, it's, you know, I personally, I never had to ask. It just shows. It's just like, why you're dating me? The fuck? Next. That's why, fuck, okay, next. You know what I mean? Like, it's very obvious. And if it's not obvious, it's only because like they've been really, really well seasoned, you know, or they're doing a really good job like hiding it.
Yeah.
Because I remember, like, and it's funny because you know, yes, with her being Filipino, and I felt like I was going home when I met her parents. Her dad and I were on a texting basis daily.
They're best buddies.
Yeah.
Oh, what?
It's not funny. But what was I trying to say? Oh, but like shit.
He lost.
What was I gonna say? Oh, okay, yeah. So like with dating these, you know, other women, you know, specifically like Caucasian, sorry, Filipino, majority of my worst experiences were with Filipino women. Yeah, like worse, like the worst. Like Dante knows. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, no, I'm not
Why
even.
is Dante?
I'm not.
Dante, why'd you look? Really, Dante?
Look at the time, man. It's kind of almost.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
so anyways, but like with white, you know, with white women, you can, I don't know, for me, like it was very obvious. And then once I
Yeah.
noticed, I started deterring my feelings for him. So
Yeah.
it wasn't no games or whatever. It was
Oh,
a
yeah.
very,
All I'm doing is the Will Smith gif. No, I mean, yeah, I've seen his experiences with that, and yeah, he's had some crazies. But all right, well, we'll wrap it up. I mean, I'm not sure if you guys have any other questions. I put on the live if anyone had any questions. No one really had any questions. Maybe I missed it, but I'm not sure if you have anything else to add on to Andrea, or you guys have anything to add on before we wrap it up. I know it's
think the
getting.
biggest takeaway for me is like go to people who make you feel at home. Period.
Whatever that is.
Period.
Yeah. Agreed.
Period. PRPERIOD.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
Period.
you go to public school too?
Period. No. Didn't you? The moral of the story, we need to find INDPENDNT.
Wow.
Women. Okay. All right.
This one, thank you so much for your time, you guys. You guys
appreciate you guys.
wonderful.
You guys have been
Thanks for having us.
been amazing. Yeah, no, it's it's been good to have you guys. You guys are like actually our first couple on my Why Day podcast. So I'm glad you guys were like the first. Hopefully, you guys changed the standard now. So all my couple relationships should be like to this level. You know, when you first date like someone of a different race, you know, same thing. So my standard's like, all right, you guys set the bar.
Yeah.
But you know, but yeah, everyone's like making fun of me because I can't spell. It's okay. But it's all right. It's all right. I don't have ashy ankles today too, so that's a plus today. So happy Why Day Wednesday to everybody that's tuned in. Appreciate Ann Shirley. Ann Shirley was killing it today. She was on it.
Yeah.
Woo, yeah. Yeah, no, it was good. I was really good. I was, you know, she was getting in tune with that. So I'm glad she took over the episode today. You know, about time she stepped up today. So that was good. She stepped up in a big way, big moves. But that's all. I mean, I guess that's it. Like I said, all the episodes and all the content is gonna be on the Why Day podcast. So you guys all know I'm speaking to this camera so everyone can see, but it's all gonna be on that channel. Also, I'll put this on YouTube. I got some shirts. I got a Patreon. $5 a month. $5. If you guys want $5 a month will get you exclusive content, which means you guys can all get like a 35 minute Q&A with the speakers we have on before the show. So it's like a month, $5. So yes, go on the website. It's all on there. It's all on the Why Date podcast website or Why Date Instagram. It's on there on the bio. Y_date_. That's it. That's all I want to say. I'll also put this probably on my promo at some point. But thank you guys so much. This good episode. Proud to see you guys killing it out here in quarantine. And that is all. All right, guys. Have a nice night. Yeah. Take it easy. All right. Oh, I didn't see you there. Hey, this is going on. This is Dante from the Why Day podcast, the host, and hope you guys like our content on the last episode. And just letting you guys know that we are going to be posting everything on our website, www.whydatepodcast.com. And for all the information, you can go on here. I know if you guys already looked on the video, it's on YouTube. YouTube episodes are on here. Everything on SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple, Google Play, all that is on there. Now, another thing we also are giving out for a lot of listeners who's been listening for a while, we actually have a Patreon. So a Patreon account, if you donate, it's a $5 tier of $5 a month. What we're going to be giving you is some exclusive content, which is going to have 30 to 45 minute Q&A before the episode. So if we typically have a guest speakers on there. We have some love coaches on there, like we had in our last episode. We have a love coach, relationship gurus, motivational speakers. So you got the Q&A time within 30 to 45 minutes to talk to them before we do our episode. Or if you want to talk to any of us, some of the speakers on there, the co-hosts and things like that, we also open that up for anyone out there. Also, we're going to be having an exclusive giving out the prior episode. So we're going to have the episode and you're going to have the first leak of the episode before we even put it on to everybody else to see. So that's all we have. It's just $5. It's a very small number. I know most people are, got other investments, whereas Netflix, I'm not competing with Netflix or Disney Plus, but it's something that we're giving out for you guys here. If you want to tune in there, that's also on the website. I'll put the link right down here. So it's www.whydatepodcast.com. And now I'm going to get back to my work. So if you guys want to kindly just, scatter